We await the first All Black squad for 2025 as the All Blacks prepare to take on France.
Through the whole season, you look for their reliability, the ability to keep turning up week after week, their skill sets under pressure, how they complement the group. It's a hell of a team. Just congratulate those debutants, for them and their families and who supported them to get here.
Fabian Holland, Brodie McAllister, Ollie Norris, Tavatava Nawa, Duplessis, Kidafi, Hurricanes, Wellington.
Let's look forward, because France is literally just around the corner. In terms of preparing for that, there are some pivotal decisions they have to make. Who's going to play where?
The thing with Fabien Gaultier is he's got a really consistent squad that he's utilised.
All the ingredients for a great opening test match as a famous rivalry is renewed.
Oh, yes, it is just a week away. The first test, the All Blacks taking on France. Kia ora, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Breakdown tonight. I am Laura McGoldrick. I'm joined by Jeff Wilson, Mills Muliaina, Justin Marshall, and these boys have all missed me so much. I know we haven't caught up since the Crusaders won, so it's good to be back together, isn't it?
We've well and truly moved on, Mills and I.
We caught up on that. It's fine. Don't worry. We can go back to it.
I've got quite a lot to say.
Yeah, it's test week. It's test week.
It is test week.
Move on.
And there is
forward.
Good to see you in the red and black, though.
That's on purpose.
Beautiful.
Don't worry about that. Don't you worry about that for a second. Look, there is obviously lots happening. It is test week, and we are so pumped up for that. We want you to get involved with the show here tonight. It is called Your Shout. You just scan the QR code that you can see below here. We have a question for you. You get it answering, and we're going to keep that live throughout the night. We'll keep including you in our conversation here on Breakdown tonight. So let's see what else is coming up on the show.
We look at your votes in Your Shout, and please keep the votes coming. The guys picked their starting teams for the first test against France. The Lions are roaring in Australia, but who wins the test series? And we look at the under-20s who kick off their World Cup campaign against Italy tomorrow.
Yes, so we are just a week away. There's a lot of questions about the teams and what they're going to be doing and who they're going to be playing. But first, let's have a quick look at what the All Blacks have actually been up to over the past couple of weeks. They've got together now. They're in camp, they're training together, and it's great to see that they're heading back to a bit of club footy, helping out where they can. And Justin Marshall, you know all too well, this is a real razor focus. Scott Robertson is big on going back into the community. He did that. He was huge on that with the Crusaders, and you're seeing it implemented with the All Blacks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of... It is the grassroots of New Zealand rugby, and it's really important to make sure that the All Blacks are out there showing that they're human and the heroes can see them and touch them. And Razor's very much about that. He's a club man, and the All Blacks going back and doing that's amazing. Like literally just over a month ago, he went back and coached the Prem Reserves Sumner team. Because club rugby's important to him, and it's important to us as well, isn't it, as players? We all love our clubs and love club rugby, and I think it's a great initiative.
As a mum, the idea that an All Black could pop in and help carry the water,
be a water boy,
be a water boy, or bring you the tea, I think is pretty awesome. Let's have a look, because I believe some votes are already in when it comes to the Your Shout. Let's have a look what are people saying, so who they think should start. Oh, here we go. Oh, OK. All right. How do we feel about those numbers, Jeff Wilson?
A little bit of love for Ruben Love, first five. I'm not sure that's going to happen on the first test of the year, but fascinating that people are thinking Beauden Barrett right now, having maybe the inside running from the fans. It feels like a bit like a telethon, you get, you know.
Telethon.
Remember the telethon? Can you remember
people watching the show who do not know what a telethon is?
Sorry about that. Yes, they do.
No, some do. We're all going to sing a song at the end of this. There will be a song. We're turning this into a musical.
I'll shave you guys' heads. You happy with that? Bring it back, baby. Come on.
All right.
Not touching this here, mate.
No one touches Justin Marshall's here. But Justin Marshall, would you please talk us through, if you were coaching this outfit and you had those players at your disposal that were named last week, what would your starting 15 look like and what would your bench look like?
Yeah, so pretty much what I've tried to balance out with my side is thinking most likely what Scott Robertson would pick, but equally what I would like him to pick. And no doubt about the fact that they will have their DNA on what they want to do, but mine is game plan orientated. How are we going to play, So, look, I think the front five takes care of itself. There probably are not a lot of arguments within that, in my mind. It's nice and solid. You've got Cody Taylor, Tamaiti Williams, Lomax, core, really good front row that many people would probably struggle to argue with. Tupu Vai's been outstanding. He's been a revelation in the middle row, along with Scott Barrett. Now, the loose forwards is one of conjecture, and this is where, as I do, I'll just ram my stake straight into the ground and stick with specialists. And I feel that I want to see Ardie Savea playing in the 7 jersey, and that means that everybody else has to balance around them. So I went for Samipeni Finau on the blind side, and I want a genuine number 8. And because Wallace Satiti is ruled out, the only other now genuine number 8 in that side that's not a hybrid player playing across the back row is Christian Leo Willie. So if he's a number 8 and he plays number 8, select him there. And then everybody else fulfils their role. Hard running 6, Ardie Savea doing what he does around the breakdowns.
He was wearing 7 at training.
Was he?
Yep.
Well, that's good news for me.
You happy with that?
Oh, I didn't know that as well.
Okay, he does seem genuinely surprised.
I do, I am, so that's great. So the back line, I think Cam Roygard, and then obviously the big conjecture around Mackenzie or Beauden Barrett. I think we need to play straight. I think we need to play direct. And I just like the way that Beauden Barrett can go about doing that and pulling the trigger on the back line. His maturity, his reading of the game plan, his nous and his knowledge. So I'd have him starting at 10 alongside his brother, Geordie and Proctor. Now, you've got 3 players that know each other really well there. And obviously people going, OK, there's Rico missing. Rico's not missing from my team because I want to see him play on the wing. So he's on the left wing, Sevu Reece on the right, and then Will Jordan at fullback. So what I've gone for is a lot of players that, which is my drum, that I bang loud and every week and have done for a few years, position-specific players in the right jerseys, not players that can play multiple jerseys. So if you look at this side, most of those guys play that position every week.
And that is what you want to see.
And then, and then obviously you've got to do your bench, and I think that sort of takes care of itself. I went for Taukei'aho, Newell, Norris. I want to see what Norris is like around the field for evolution of our game plan. Now, how mobile can he be, and how can we look different in a prop that's a ball player and has a work rate? So give him an opportunity to do that. Fabian Holland, they've been looking at this kid for a long time. Just get him out there and see how he goes. You know, I think he's got a good engine on him, so he won't let you down. And equally, I think Patrick probably, you know, he will come into the mix, but he's nursing a few injuries. Kirifi deserves his opportunity, and then you can manipulate when you need to. Introduce a genuine open side. Kirifi comes on in that jersey, and then it's what you do with Ardie. Do you take him off, or do you put him in the 8 jersey at that stage of the game when the game's broken up and different? Noah Hotham, I think he just adds threat at halfback, brings on a different point of attack. It's not unpredictable, and he's a tough defender if you're trying to stay in a test match and win it in the last 20. And Mackenzie off the bench.
OK. All right, so that is Justin Marshall's team. Talk us through yours, Mills. Is there any difference there?
There is a couple,
Okay.
and I totally agree with what Marshy's mentioned, the fact that our 5 is pretty solid, you know, the guys that we've got there. So I'd pick the same 5. The Lucy's is the big one, and then obviously he's gone with Walker Leawedi. I've kind of picked my team around sort of what Razor sort of mentioned, you know, how they're going to possibly play the game, but also the fact that, I'm hearing we're going to give it a little bit of air, we can come back and sort of have a little bit of stability around our ball carries. So my difference is obviously the 8. You know, Wallace Satiti being out, that throws a little bit of a spanner in the works. And I've gone in and sort of picked Jacobson there because I can't see why you'd sort of know and understand the fact that perhaps Satiti might be out and then have Walker Leawedi sitting there to sort of leapfrog someone that's already sort of been picked in the squad. So I've gone with Jacobson there at number 8. The big talking one, obviously, is the 10s. And I've kind of gone about it a different way, mainly, you know, perhaps for the future, for the Rugby World Cup coming up, and also the style of play that we're sort of looking at trying to implement, and what sort of, you know, Razor Robertson is saying, you know, a little bit different. Can we play to our sort of DNA that we've done in the past, meaning, you know, before the Rugby World Cup and even previous years? So I've gone with Damian McKenzie, and part of that also is the makeup of the bench. I think if you have Beauden on the bench, and I've sort of skipped past the other guys, I think he's our safety net. I think the style that they're probably possibly trying to implement is a similarity to sort of what the Chiefs have been able to do. In the last few years, the Chiefs have sort of got to a stage where they've understood the, I wouldn't say erratic, but sort of the unpredictability of Damian McKenzie's sort of style. And I think perhaps Razor in that way are going to go and try and persist with that. Even though they gave him an opportunity last year, I think it's another opportunity to be able to do that. Having Beauden off the bench, I think he gives you a bit more direction. I think he gives you, he's stable when he comes on. He can close the game, and he can give that unpredictability. So that's why I've kind of gone that way, and agree with you out wide. I think, and I'm hearing also Billy Proctor, you know, has been training at centre. So Billy for me, and Rico, you know, obviously in the wing. And a few differences. I've gone for a bit more stability also. Kirifi gets a start. a spot on the bench. I think he deserves it, and I think he brings something a little bit different, as does Tupaia. You know, and I've got actually De Groot there. You know, De Groot and also Newell. I think if you're going to revert back to trying to, you know, come back to your sort of set piece, there is a bit of safety net sort of there with those sort of guys. But I think the big talking point, obviously for me, and the big change, I'm not sure what Jeff's sort of got in front of him, is obviously who's our director, and Damien McKenzie or Beauden Barrett.
You can answer that question now. Jeff, what does your team look like? Who's your number 10?
The reality is we could all pick a side in there. They look really strong. Look, I like both of those sides. I've gone down a different tact because quite often, traditionally, on a 3-test series, if you're going to give new guys an opportunity, you'd wait till the 3rd test. I think it's been a heavy workload for a lot of guys over the last month. And there's some guys that haven't played any rugby, and I'm concerned about those guys as well. If they don't play the first couple of weeks, they might not have played rugby for 6 or 7 weeks. That's a long time on the sidelines. I'm playing a little bit of a Highlanders card here as well, being in Dunedin. I think the likes of Ethan de Groot can go out there and do a really strong job for them up front to start with. There's no Tyrell Lomax, the way that he plays, the fact what he's brought to the table. The big thing for me is here, I had Wallace Satiti clearly starting at 8, and I had Ardie Savea at 7. With him being ruled out, I've decided to move Ardie back, and then I would look at Duplessis Kirifi at open side. So if I look at those positions and how influential they can be, I think it's really, really important that we keep working on our game plan. I want to see Ardie Savea out on the edges on the channels, right? That's what I'm trying to look at. Now, first 5, once again, I'm looking at a team that might have to play in a pressure situation. If we're 2-0 up, there's no pressure on. I think we all agree that we want to see Billy Proctor. I want to see him play. He should be at centre. It's then we want to keep including Rieko Ioane. But for me, a lot of those changes are on the bench. I think Tamati Williams clearly is our starter. Tokiaho is a player who's got a great impact. Once again, coming in and looking at... And I think there's just issues that we can look at. And for me, I look at the likes of a Christian Leo-Willie as well. I think he can make an impact off the bench. Yeah, excited to see what Christian Leo-Willie could potentially do. If we have a look at a few more things here, well, should we see what you guys are saying at home, how you feel about how this number 10 conversation could end up, who you would like to see in that position? Don't forget your shout. You can scan that QR code. This is wild stuff there. Oh, Ruben, a lot of love for Ruben Love. How do we feel about Ruben? We aren't talking about him in any of your teams. Maybe I'll do a team and maybe I'll go with everyone at home and put Ruben Love there. What do you think about him? What is the reality that we're going to see him at some point in this? I think we'll certainly, well, the possibility of seeing him is in what jersey, and obviously the people out there are thinking the 10 jersey. It was really interesting. We asked Scott Robertson the question last week. You know, you've said in the past that you see him as a fullback. Last week he said we see him as a fullback, but equally he can play 10. And that's the first time he said that. So I was like, OK, you are considering it. At the end of the day, we do have to make sure we're future-proofing. And to do that, you've got to make sure that people have time in the environment, which he has had, but then have time in the jersey with the boots on out there directing traffic. So if it's Ruben Love, which it clearly is, because he's really that third 10, he's got to get some time. He does have to get some time. When do you give him that time? How do you give him that time if you're Scott Robertson? Yeah, I don't know if you sort of go backwards with you. I don't, in terms of what Jeff's sort of mentioned, you sort of start with the guys who haven't sort of played. I think you've got to hit the first game with a bang, and hence the reason why. That's a pretty... Well, a lot of Wellington and Hurricanes sort of the voters in there right now, aren't they? But is there an appetite for change, though? Is that what we're seeing? If the people at home are thinking we want to see something different, because, and I'm a bit like that, that's why I want to see the newbies play earlier rather than later, because the longer we wait, look, I have no doubt that Geordie Barrett has a number 112. I could pick a team of all the guys I've seen before, and I know exactly what they've done in the All Black jersey. I could put Luke Jacobson back out there, no problem at all, but that doesn't advance where we're going. That doesn't give us more information on players. This is a series, we need to find something out, because when we get into Argentina, away, when we get into the Springboks at home and the Bledisloe Cup's on the line, you're not taking any chances then, because those are games you must win. Yes, we have to win these ones. We'd love to win them. If you don't give guys a shot at some point who are in form, who are playing well, the longer they're on the sidelines, for me, the less confidence you have as a player. Every week you're away from playing the game. For Timothy Tavatavanawai, he's getting further and further away from having his great season. All of a sudden, how many guys sat on the sideline last year and we had to wait a game before we saw them play? Billy Proctor. Played one game for the All Blacks. He didn't play rugby for 6 months.
I don't think he's got the luxury. I don't think Razor's got the luxury of being able to chop and change in the first game. I think you've got to go in straight away and win this series. Yeah. And you look at the team that's sort of coming, the French team that's coming. This is an opportunity for them to sort of wipe away last year and go, hey, we're going to hit the ground running, get our best team out there, and then build towards those sort of games. You know, you're at Test match footy now. I mean, guys that don't get an opportunity, they're going to have to wait.
You need to know how you want to play. And they will know that from the players that they've picked. So those players have got to go out there and play in a way that is going to get us back to #1 in the world. And they'll know that. That's why they've selected this side. So I'll be very surprised if they mess around with it too much and give people's jerseys just to see if they're going to be OK.
Well, it is Test week where, of course, we're talking about potential debutants. Let's have a look now at some of our favourite debuts.
Back to Williams, beautiful pass to Carter, away to Sevilla, and on Test debut, Julian Sevilla gets the first try of the season. Dag slings it wide, Sevilla again, and he gets it down. And now here's a chance, Carter, Dag, Sevilla's lining up, Dag might have to do it himself. No, Sevilla, he gets a hat-trick. Jones, oh, the way ahead is clear for Jones. Shelford, tight head, Alan Whitney, Fox, in pass, and the first try goes to Michael Jones and no Davis Robert on the mark. Porter gets it going back, gets Brook, tears it from his hands. Kirk to Brook, the Kerwin. Oh, held up and given to Brook again, to McCarhill. Oh, he's crashed through on the very narrowest of gaps, and he's going to set it up for a he makes it down from the try. Opportunity, flicks it, good pass away to Wilson. Wilson clear, gets past Jordan, and a brilliant try for Jeff Wilson. It came out of nothing. To move, little kick for Wilson. This could be another one for Jeff Wilson. Controls it and scores it. Forster pulls it out. Wilson's coming in as a decoy. No, he's not. He's through again. It's number 3, Jeff Wilson. Absolutely brilliant.
Now, Jeff, you obviously picked those moments. So for you to finish on top there, fantastic. No, it was great
Clearly
stuff.
could have done with no sun. There's no sun over there. No sun whatsoever. Wow.
Tell us about it, though. What was it like? Because I've heard that particularly when you arrived, like the changing sheds might not have been quite what you thought they were going to be.
No, it was the marquee because they were rebuilding the stadium. So they had one side of the stadium done, and then there's temporary, and we were out the back in a marquee, and it was, I think, 1 degree.
Beautiful.
That's the perfect way to make it.
It's the only time I ever played in a long sleeve jersey. It was absolutely freezing. And we loved it, every minute of it. It was amazing. I felt right at home. I was born in Invercargill, no problems at all. Piece of cake, ready to go.
Let's talk about the debutants that we could potentially see in action in this French side who are getting ready to do battle with the All Blacks. We are only a week away. Of course, this is a relatively inexperienced French side. When you first saw this team name, Justin Marshall, what do you make of it?
To be honest, I'm really disappointed. Look, the side that the French have bought is clearly underpowered. And, you know, you're talking here, look, at the end of the day, average age of 25, the average number of caps, 9.3. This is a side that has a very little amount of experience, you know, and then, you know, at the end of the day, there's 49% of the players have got no caps at all. So it's a development team with a few senior players involved. It's honestly, in my mind, it's complete BS, you know, the way that they're treating this tour, the way that the French always seem to come up with excuses to not bring their top players. I feel they disrespect the international window. I equally feel, I'm not going to say that it's not going to be a contest out there, but our fans deserve to see their best players playing in our country against our All Blacks, because we do that in November to them. We send our very best players for filling their stadiums and giving the fans the best experience they can get by seeing the best players in the world. They are not doing that. And if they keep doing this, which is quite regular for them, just don't invite them. We'll play someone else. Look, it's still going to be a good series and they'll be competitive and they've got depth. But the reality is they've left 70% of their best players in France. And I just don't feel that that is within the decency and the respect of the game.
Look, I agree with you 100%. And the fact, reality was last year when we heard that they might be bringing a second strength team. And you have to admit, I have full respect for French rugby. I have no issues with the fact these guys are playing in a world-class competition. But this is still not their best side. We know their best players aren't here. They know their best players aren't here. Are they going to go out and compete? Absolutely.
Yes.
Are going to prepare as best they can? Absolutely. But when push comes to shove, experience, Mills, goes a long, long way. And you're playing the All Blacks in New Zealand. The part I'm disappointed about is that if they genuinely want to win a World Cup at some point, you want to give yourself the best opportunity to do that, you have to take on the top teams away from home, because in 2 years' time, there's a World Cup being played in Australia, and that's familiar territory to us. Ireland came down here and they beat the All Blacks for the first time in New Zealand, and it gave them better chance of winning a Rugby World Cup. Now, they pushed us right to the very limit.
Yep.
France have denied themselves the opportunity, Mills, in a 3-test series to give guys the chance to understand what it takes to be successful in the Southern Hemisphere.
I just think, I'm with you. I just think it's ridiculous that they're able to bring this. I mean, average of 9 caps. I mean, it's disrespectful as well. I just feel the fact that you're building this sort of series up. They talk about how difficult and how players want to come down here, and then they bring a squad like that. Every time we go to India tour, over the Northern Hemisphere,
we're fully loaded, eh?
Well, can you imagine us taking an under-strength team?
beating.
Yeah, you remember the outcry that would happen sort of in stadiums? And I think now it's a great opportunity. We've spoken about the All Blacks. Now is where we've actually really got to hone things home. And I hope that they actually, give them, it's a 3-0 sort of victory.
Can I ask you a question, Marshy? Do the French clubs run French rugby?
No, the club owners have a massive influence, yes.
Well, clearly they do,
yeah.
because they have designed a competition which plays about, 36 games in a year.
Yeah.
Like their competition and the competitions they're a part of put this huge number of minutes, they call it. Anyone who gets over the cap of 2,000 minutes, and all of a sudden they've played too much. Hence, this is the window they decide they get to recover. The dangerous part about this for us here in New Zealand is they've got nothing to lose again. And that's when France are probably their most dangerous.
Yeah.
In some ways, I'm trying to get the fact, if they've got nothing to lose, they can go out there and play with a freedom that they may not have had if their full team is here. And that makes them dangerous. And remember, we've had our struggles in the first test match of the year. We haven't quite hit the ground running, and that's where they might play it safe. They might go, you know what, like they did with the last test against Italy last year, where we played our full-strength All Black side. The very most experienced one we could. We might go down that path for the very reason that this French team realistically can go out and they can swing for the fences, because they're not expected to win these test matches.
No, they're not. But the farcical component of it is if we were to be playing the French in November, it would be a completely different side that we would play than the team that we're going to play for the next 3 test matches, because they would have all their superstars back out there. And like I said, I feel that our players, when we select our All Black teams and we're preparing for a very difficult rugby championship, and some really challenging test matches, we want to know about our players against the best players in the world. The French are, I think, 3rd in the world or 4th in the world ranked, and we need to know what it's like. When I was playing, when we played, your litmus test was, for me, it was playing against Fabien Gaultier, who's the French coach right now. It's Fabien Gaultier. If it was the 3rd string halfback, I wouldn't know where I'm at. I can't measure myself. I want to play against the best. I want our All Blacks playing against the best the French have got to offer. They can still throw the kitchen sink at us, because they don't win here very often. So they're underdogs anyway, with their top team.
I guess it comes back to your point. I mean, they went to Argentina and had a very understrength team. So every time they come at the end of the season, during the July sort of series, they're sending understrength teams, regardless of whether it is New Zealand or somewhere else. So if it's because they played too many games during the season, why even consider them coming on tour?
Yes.
Why even invite them? Because they're not going to send their best side.
The interesting part for me is we know that who's not going to do anything about it. It's World Rugby.
Yeah,
They're not going to do anything about it.
But they're the only ones who could.
Well, can they? What have they got in their power to decide? And they sit there and there's the Northern Hemisphere, yet the influence they have there. At the moment, we don't really have a strong footing. Yes, I think the CEO is an Australian, but ultimately, are we getting any cut through in making these competitions quality? Are they going to disrespect the new Nations Cup that's coming? That World Rugby have put together, where we're going to have this massive playoff between the top teams?
Yeah.
Or are they just going to go, well, we don't really care about that. That's not part of our dinner. Our clubs have got this competition that the players are playing and they drive our economy of the game. Look, I just think there's some bigger questions here, which I doubt World Rugby are going to get involved in.
Well, yeah, but they're the only team in the world, let's make this a fact, that are doing it. Every other team who are sending tour teams away are sending the best they can offer, barring injury.
They are now.
Fluctuation. Yeah,
we had a few years, probably 15, 20 years ago, where it was
the French are the only ones that are now doing what they are doing, and it's not just to New Zealand. And they need to be held accountable for it, because otherwise, don't give them the revenue. It's like, all right, if you don't want it and want it wholeheartedly, then we'll bring another team here who does, and then you won't get the revenue from it.
What's the pinnacle for French rugby? If they're looking at all the competitions that are coming out around the world, is it the World Cup?
You would have thought coming here and winning a Test series in New Zealand. I don't think they haven't done that historically ever, have they?
Or the 94.
They won the series.
They won the series. They won it was 2-0 while I was there on the bench.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's to be remembered. You know, that's what you want to do: create history. And if you're not going to send your firepower to do that, you're never going to achieve it. And I don't buy into the minute stuff. What a load of rubbish. Every team in the world has got players that are playing too many minutes, but they'll still go front for their jersey, for their nation.
Well, that should be the priority.
Absolutely, it should be.
That should be the priority.
Yeah.
Right, well, we're just solving the world's problems over here. Right, we're out of here. That's it. Justin's throwing paper. We're gone. Right, let's have a look now at what you guys are saying at home with Your Shout. The first question today. Oh, Ruben Love still sitting on top there. Who starts number 10 for the All Blacks? We actually have another question we posed to you for the second half of the show. Who is going to win this Lions series? Scan that QR code. Get answering that question right now. That is going to be a very interesting series. Right, we're going to take a short break. Justin Marshall has been very, very busy. He caught up with Scott Razor-Robertson, and here is a little teaser before we go to the break.
3 Test matches against the French.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to hear your memories of what it was like as a player to play against the French, and your memories from being involved in those Test matches.
Yeah, incredible. We had 2. One was up in Stade de France, and we played so well, and then we got rolled the next week. Oh my goodness, they turned out like it was a different team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A great French team, really connected, and really can be extremely dangerous, can't they?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
And look, through that period that you and I played them, like, you bang on. Like, man, they can beat, they were super inconsistent, weren't they? Like, they're always tough. But they would have this tendency, and I mean this with the greatest respect, but the fact I'm not saying it in French helps, is they could drop their lip big time.
This is AI, mate. Translated like that.
But anyway, they could really drop their lip, and you get on top of them and they just go away. But then all of a sudden they could grow in stature like you experienced in 2000 and become a different outfit, a different team. And when their lip is not down, they just become this galvanised group. But
now it's different, eh?
Yeah, mate, perfect.
Well, you know how they're going to play. They know how they're going to play, but you've got to stop them. Great kicking. Don't play anything in their own half. I'm not giving anything straight stitches away because everyone's seen it. You would have seen it.
Yeah.
Ability to kick and put pressure on you defensively and be disciplined. They're really clear, but when they hold the ball, you know what they're going to do, but you've got to stop them.
The arrival of a Lions tour is a dream come true. Their 9-game, 6-week tour of Australia. Russell now goes crossfield with the kick. Lovely work. Back in field for low takes it. It goes back to Sheehan. Sheehan on Naboo as the line. Williams. Pollock tips it on to his back row partner. Now he reconnects. Here's the whiz kid. Pollock. 3 away. He pops it up and they're in again. Well, they tap and go here. Play on. Russell dunning his way through. Russell pops it away for Tally. He got him down. Got it. last try in front of Coach Andy Farrell. Troy Pelotto, Hansen, Mac Hansen, goes off the hip. There is the final try. It's scored by Mitchell at the British and Irish Lions. The full-time score, 54-7.
Yes, a big win, a heck of a way to bounce back after losing to Argentina, the Lions there. Now, you can get involved in our chat here. Do you think the Lions will win or do you think the Wallabies will win? You can answer it, scan the QR code, have your say and your shout tonight. So far, Australia. I'm going to ask you, boys. Jeff, where are you sitting? Who do you think is going to win this?
I want Australia to win, but I was really impressed with the Lions. Last night, really was. The fact the Force actually started the game really strongly, and if you're a provincial team or a franchise trying to play against them, what you need to do is take your opportunities early and try and get ahead of the game. Well, when they didn't take them, you could just see the tide turned, and then all of a sudden it was one-way track in the second half. I was really impressed. I don't know about you, Marshy Mills, but I really liked their intent. Some of the little things they were doing, they weren't taking the ball into contact, they were looking to shift the ball. This was a really fast, high-tempo game. This is, for me, unfamiliar territory for the Lions, but I love to see it.
I agree. I think you're right. I mean, the questions are asked whether they will go to Australia and play sort of a tactical kicking sort of game. They played an expansive game, and some of the offloading and stuff that they were doing, and even tapping quickly, things like that. You seldom see that from the Lions. So they're here to play. The one downside, you'd have to say, and probably a worrying point, is probably their set piece at the moment, which you wouldn't have thought would have been. No, actually.
Yeah, you would have thought that's going to be their strength and where they're going to target Australia. I think they'll rectify that pretty quickly. They've definitely got the cattle there to put a formidable, strong forward pack out there and not get bullied around by Australia. And totally agree with both of you. Their balance was good. A lot of what they did the week before that didn't work against Argentina started to stick, and you could put it down to a little bit. I know Argentina hadn't played, but when you bring all those groups together and put combinations together that have never played before, it's always going to be a little clunky. They were clunky last week. A lot of it this week with Finn Russell orchestrating it looked a lot better. Everybody sort of was in better zones. Depth was better. Line busts were capitalised on. So,
any danger they fall into the trap of playing how Australia wants to play? In terms of, OK, we're going to play a high-tempo game. That Force teams are far away from what the Australian team's going to look like. But we'll have the same mentality in terms of how they want to use the ball, keep the ball in hand. Surely you're not going to play a kicking game against the Lions, are you?
I think they'll balance it, but you have to look at the way Andy Farrell coaches and the teams that he's coached, and that mindset, those block plays and all that. That's his creativity, and that's the way that he likes his team to play. And happy for them to play all parts of the field. I think they'll have a better balance in the test matches. Test matches just demand that, don't they? Physical, faster, tougher, so there aren't as many moments in the game. But I certainly feel they'll have intent to play. They'd be stupid not to with the players that they've got in that back line in particular. And in the Lucies, like, how good was Pollock?
Yeah.
Like, you hear this about this wonder kid coming out of England, don't you? You're like, righto, how good is this chap? We've got a few good Lucies in our part of the world as well. But with the number 8 shirt on, that was really nice there. He just did a nice little offload pre-contact and then supported around the back, explosive. He's certainly got a good balance to his game. Whether or not he's going to feature in the starting team because of his youth, he's only 20 years old, guys, but he could very well play a part in these test matches from what I've seen so far.
There's a lot of X factor there.
Yes.
I would be surprised. I mean, he's got the benefit of a few more games in preparation for it. From what you see, sometimes special players are just special players. Why in the world would you deny that to him when you're going, well, if you're playing better than, we've got experienced guys. It's a 3-test series. He'll have time to get better. It's a tour. I'd be surprised if he's not involved in the
Do you know what I'm not surprised with? Is that when I ask the question, who's going to win, 8 minutes later, we're still here and no one's told me who they think's going to win. So...
That's called the media.
Jeff.
That's what you. No one does it better than Mills Muliaina.
I think
no one does it better than Mills Muliaina. He hasn't picked a team all year. He hasn't picked a team all year.
You pick it first then, Jeff. You hop off the fence. Who do you think's going to win?
There's a question, hang on.
Like Australia win. Who do you think?
Do you want me to scan the QR code and try and tip the balance?
You scan the QR code if you wouldn't mind. Who's winning? The Lions or Australia?
It's far too early to call. It's far too early to call.
It's the media. Mills Muliaina never picks it.
Can I rephrase the question for you and become the host?
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
About time. You've been wanting to be in that chair for a while.
You're welcome.
Could you go make me a cup of tea?
Too big a chair.
Could you go make me a cup of tea?
Who would I prefer to win the series? Is what I would say.
Who prefer? Okay, who?
I prefer Australia to win.
Why?
It's not necessarily that I think they'll win,
Well, no.
but
Why
I
would
prefer
you
them to
prefer
win.
them to win?
I just feel it's great for Southern Hemisphere rugby. Equally, I feel that Australia, for winning a series like that, they could just grow massively. And I like Australian rugby strong, believe me. And I think it would be a massive boost for them and Joe Smith. So I prefer them to win, but I'm just not sure they will.
Okay, you prefer them to win? What about you, Mills? Where is your head at?
The Lions are going to win.
Ooh.
The Lions will win the series.
Did that game last night solidify that for you?
I think there's a lot of aspects in that game last night that I'm thinking the more they play, and they've got another game this Wednesday, the more they're starting to come together, and also the style that they're actually producing. You're talking about Pollack and his coach and the style they want to play. Why wouldn't you have a guy out there? So I think the Lions will. I think if Australia, they need to win the first game to actually have a chance, but I don't see that happening. I think the Lions will win.
If we've done one thing tonight, we've done it. We've made Mills select a side.
I'll tell you what else.
Now, I tell you what, that's hysterical. And he's bam, I haven't picked the team. I'm exactly 100% like Justin. I want the Wallabies to win. I want their rugby to thrive. I want them to start discovering some of the form that we've seen in their great eras. I'm not convinced, though, that they can do it for 2 of the 3 tests.
Quickly.
Yeah, for 2 of the 3 test matches, I'm not sure they're going to have the players in the key positions with enough experience to get them to a point where they will win. And so that's why I'm actually leaning towards Mills in regards to the fact that I think that the Lions will, just on the fact that they will be a more experienced and better squad. But come on, the Wallabies, that's all I'll say.
He's leaning, but he's still on that fence.
I'm on that 1% that's going 1% on either side.
10 minutes later, we just
really
got
and the show's finished.
The
show's finished. All right, well, talk us through, because the Lions, I mean, what a series that is, and exciting to be a part of. So pick us your favourite Lions moment. Justin Marshall, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, look, I love Lions series, and it's not just in New Zealand, it's obviously across the world. And when they go to South Africa and Australia, it's incredible. But for me, as a player, it was probably the one thing that I wanted to achieve in my career that was possibly out of reach after a World Cup in 2003. But the Lions had such appeal to actually hang in there, try and play good rugby, to be selected and actually run out and play against them. And that happened for me in 2005, and it was a really good test match to be involved with. Massive pressure, massive expectation around the Lions being in the country. Leading into that test match, how's the series going to go? How good are they going to be? How are we going to be? What's our team like? And to go out there and put in a really good performance as a team, win that first test match and set the series alight was incredibly rewarding. And I'm very grateful for getting that opportunity. Yeah.
All right, Mills, for you, what was your favourite Lions moment?
It is, and the Lions is huge. I mean, even as a player, you sort of sit back and go, and the resource they had about 1,000 buses, they had a bus for their management, a bus. But my one's this one. Yeah, you've got to call it the Dan Carter second test. Had everything about it. I mean, the O'Driscoll thing that sort of happened. So it was really intense. We came into sort of, the Wellington game, and he just outplayed everyone. I mean, the way that DC went about how he played and the skill set that he had, I think he's picked up a couple of tries as well, the greedy prick. But he also kicked goals. And
We're going to clip that off and send that to Dan just in case.
It was really, I mean, after this, even this display, we still knew that there was another, 22 odd players that still had to pull their, make sure they played a part. So the following week was even bigger to make sure it was a three-peat. 3-0 series. So what a test series. What a test match. And the Lions is just, man, you got to love it.
Yeah, you do. It's special. And Jeff, you got great memories of when you played the Lions?
I didn't play the Lions.
Is your tummy any
I didn't
better?
play. This is 1993. Didn't play against the Lions. I was scheduled to play for Otago against the Lions, and I got crook, and Andre Bell played and kicked all the points, and we won. But I can tell you that this was the third test at Eden Park. And I remember this is like 93, and this was huge. Lee Stensness, Frank Bunce scores here, but this was the decider. And it's like when you talk about Game 7s and the NBA Finals, when you're talking about the Lions, only happens every 12 years, you're getting to a decider. And they dominated in Wellington and Athletic Park. Then the All Blacks had to front. And I talked to the players around this, and they said that week was the most intense Laurie Mains had ever been in terms of preparing that team. And they went out and they absolutely delivered. Outstanding.
Will you be pleased to know that the poll is similar to Jeff Wilson, right on the fence. It's 50-50 as to who's going to win that series. So it is very exciting. Now, will you put your phone
scan
down?
the QR code.
QR code.
I was going to scan the QR code.
Yeah. Let's talk about other rugby that's happening happening around the world, and the Springboks taking on the Barbars. Well, they put them away, actually, in Cape Town. What have you made of the Springboks side and what you've seen and their performance against the Barbars?
Me oh my, they're just on the improve constantly and looking a lot more creative. The way they dismantled quite a good-looking Barbarian side on paper. Barbarian side's always going to be a challenging week. It's quite social. And then you bring all those players together, and they've got their own personal pride for their own countries to play, and so they're going to deliver. But they weren't even in the contest, and you just love the balance in the way that the Springboks are playing. They had some, Jeff, I think you've picked up on it, some innovations within their attack, but I just see them not being as predictable as what they were when they were winning World Cups in terms of the DNA of kick, territory, base, because now they've just got these explosive wingers, their centres are playing great, their forward pack's massive. They are frightening, the direction they're trending in.
Well, I think they've given Tony Brown a little bit more coaching time.
Yeah.
They've given him a little bit of time at training to go, OK, you can expand on what you've been doing and what you've seen. And I saw in this Barbarians game, and I get it, the Barbarians, the fact all of a sudden their defence started to falter just a little bit, but some of the system things that the Springboks started to show. And to me, when you Farsi at fullback, Odense, Colby, Lebok coming off the bench, their creativity, and this is what they do for me differently, is they're prepared to use the ball. We saw them last year try and do it a little bit more. The fact that Damien Delende, all of a sudden, he developed his passing game through the middle of the park. But you just watch here, they created space, but they parked a couple of guys right up on the very, very edge. So it gave Farsi, their fullback, opportunity to create. And what do? They change the angle. Odense cuts on the inside, and he's all of a sudden got a weak shoulder to attack onto. He's going through the middle of the park using his footwork. There's an offload, and then they get 2 or 3 metres from the line, and it's a given. And it's really hard to stop. So rather than getting to a point where they're playing for penalties to get territory, if they're prepared to play in behind the line to keep the ball in hand, I get it. It's the Barbarians. I understand it. The social week, the side of it, they would have fallen off with about 20 to go. We'd expect the Springboks. You'd expect the Springboks to do this. I just think we're seeing players getting more opportunity, and with more freedoms, we should be very wary.
You often, international teams, you sort of think about an aura. There's an aura about this Springbok side. I mean, you look at them every time they get into a green jersey, they come together, they camp, because it can be a little bit loose when you're playing Barbarians. But man, they start with a hiss and a roar. They've got consistency. They're constantly sort of changing things. People are chasing them. You talk about the bomb squad. You talk about world-class players in every single position, right through to the bench. This is what the Springboks team has, and man, they just seem to be every single year constantly picking up something new. And teams are chasing them. So
just quickly, off the bench, Quagga Smith did a job. He was the utility player, could play forwards and backs. Well, they had Andre Esterhuizen, a 12, play the last 25 minutes on the side of the scrum. All right, and he's about 120.
He's a tank, mate.
Yeah, he might be, but once again, they went with a 5-3 split, but not really. He ended up being the 6th forward. So once again, pushing the boundaries
of where
doing things slightly different.
Yeah, cool.
Very, very interesting. All right, and of course the Māori All Blacks had a great win as well. It is your last chance to answer that question, who you think is going to win. Your shout, will it be the Lions? Will it be Australia to take out that series? It is very exciting. We're going to take a short break here on Breakdown. When we come back, we're going to talk about the World Cup coming up, and it starts tomorrow with season.
Pretty grateful. Being selected for camp means a lot, not just for myself, but for my family as well. A lot of work has been put in behind the scenes for me to get where I am.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Privileged representing the country. We've got a good group of boys here and a good group of coaching staff and management, so it's pretty special. Being a second year is a privilege because you get to be the leader of the group, and I think it's a great opportunity for us older boys to practice our leadership skills and give pave the way for those boys to come through.
Following my brother's footsteps, taking on captaincy isn't easy. It's big shoes to fill, but when you've got a good crowd of men around you, then it really helps shape the team. Yeah, with my brother, it really helped me a lot, knowing more of what should I say and what to do for the team and what's best for the team.
South Africa is a special place, but I think it's really important that we got to play there. And the Northern Hemisphere teams get the Six Nations, so it's awesome that they brought in the competition. It's a great way to showcase our young talent.
And a 2-on-1 here. It's going to be a hat-trick, is it? Harley Saunoa.
Learning a lot of things in a short time frame, putting out an effort and showcasing what we've got. I guess the World Cup coming up really helps us. Yeah, I think my expectations, we're going in with that mentality to take everything falling short last year to France, credit to them, they're a pretty strong side. I think it's just going to take all 31 players to really buy in as a collective, everyone just being on the same page, getting over what they need to get over through the details, and I think if we get those little percenters right, whether that's on field, yeah, can't really go wrong.
The main goal is to win, otherwise we wouldn't really want to go. So I don't think we have our sights set on anything else. In those high-pressure situations, that's where you want to be, that's why you play the game. So trying to put ourselves into those at training and everything we do. It's going to be a big battle, a big journey, but I think we've got the talent and the right people to take us there.
Yes, and so the Baby Blacks campaign gets underway. 6:30 a.m. Sky Sport 2 taking on Italy in that Under-20 World Cup. Very exciting. Mills, you've played in a couple of those World Cups. Tell us what it was like, and did you end up playing with some of those Under-20 teammates in higher honours?
Yeah, we did. Back then it was the Under-19s and Under-21s. Last year, obviously, England won the championship last year, but it's a really good time. It's our future. It's our future guys that are going to become All Blacks, obviously. In Italy, great chance to sort of gel, get the game plan right. And I think what's pleasing at the moment is they went to South Africa already and they've sort of won that side of it. So it's a massive challenge ahead of them. And we haven't been that successful in these sort of later years, the last few years, but certainly there's hope that we might do pretty well in this one.
And then their coach left.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't appoint a head coach. So I'm going to be very interested to see where the leadership in this group comes from in terms of the coaching group. Now, yes, they've got 4 co-coaches, I understand. I think Dave Dillon, maybe from the Highlanders, might have joined them after their campaign. But you need a leader. You need someone who's driving that ship. I know Matt Sexton's there, who's been a big part of New Zealand rugby as well, so I think he may be overseeing it. But this is not an easy competition. And saying that, Italy, Ireland and Georgia, you're not going to get a better pool than that, realistically, to get that number 1 spot, get through to a semi-final. We've had some challenges in the pool play in the past. There shouldn't be any challenges here. Italy finished 4th in the Six Nations. Ireland were the worst team in the Under-20 Six Nations. So reality is we should breeze through these 3 games. They should be able to rotate through their squad as they push into the finals.
Interesting that they don't have a coach, and tough on some of those players, Marshy, as well, when they're getting ready to take on, the rest of the world. It is a World Cup.
Yeah, it is. You just hope that the work that had been done is stayed within the group, and the other coaches have just picked up on that, and a few of the senior guys in that team as well, so that they recognise what was successful in South Africa. Yes, there's not the same person delivering the messages, which is concerning, but hopefully they know that that's what makes them a good side, and they just tap into that.
Well, of course, we are your home of rugby here on Sky Sport, and we have all those games for you, so make sure you check it out. 6:30 tomorrow morning, Sky Sport 2. The Baby Blacks take on Italy. Now, some really sad news out of the Hurricanes camp over the last week, and that, of course, is one of their players, Nui Murawai. His partner, Miriana Pearce, has been diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, and as a group, they've come together and they've put together a whole lot of charity auction items, I should say, and you can head to Trade Me to bid on those to raise some money for her. There's also a Give a Little page that has been set up for her as well. So if you can, go and donate and help her to create some memories. There is plenty there for you to grab. There is rounds of golf with Christian Cullen and Geordie Barrett. There are All Blacks jerseys you can pick up. There are some great items to grab as well. So all our thoughts and prayers with her and her family, and fingers crossed for a speedy recovery. OK, so let's have a look at what is coming up when it comes to rugby over the next week or so. And there is plenty. Of course, we are in Test week, and that is so exciting. We've got more games for the Lions. They are taking on the Reds. That is happening on Wednesday as well. And that is an interesting one at Suncorp Stadium. What are you thinking there after what you saw from the Lions?
Well, it'll be, once again, they're rotating through their squad. Who's getting their opportunity to play? Who's getting their opportunity to impress? And the fact that what we have seen is we've seen a team play against Argentina and not perform. Then we've had a team come out, Mills, and be really, really good against the Force. But they want to try and build momentum. Whether they're still complaining about the strength of the franchise and teams they're playing, I'll be interested to see how that conversation continues to go. I do know that the announcer in Australia was having a bit of fun with some of the Lions that were maybe not born in the
He's really given it to them,
wasn't he?
Really?
Maybe that fired them up for the second 40.
Formerly, was once, born from. It was extraordinary. It was fantastic stuff. And then, of course, the Māori All Blacks are back in action, and they are against Scotland, and that is in Whangarei. And then, of course, we've got what we're all really, really looking forward to, and this is this French test. The All Blacks taking on the French, and that is the first of 3, obviously. We have one last look at the polls from your shout, this breakdown, and look, so we're still firmly in front, really. Ruben Love there. Would like to see him starting number 10. What are the odds that's going to happen, are we thinking here, fellas?
Slim.
Slim.
Slim odds.
Slim
First test of
odds.
the year, be very slim.
I would say none.
Slim to none.
Yeah.
None?
Slim to none.
But I love the
Doing
loyalty.
that.
I love the loyalty.
The loyalty is important. His mum has voted a lot tonight. And then if we have a look who's going to win the Lions series, Australia 43 Lions, 57%.
That was me and you, mate. That was me and you who just tipped it over the edge. Brought some people with us. There we go.
Back on my bloody answer.
For next week.
Well, I tell you what, it'll be fascinating. It'll be related to what happens in Dunedin, right?
Just how well we thought.
How have we gone? How have we gone?
It will be interesting. Boys, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And thank you so much for contributing at home, for joining us for your shout. That will be back next week, so listen out for what the questions might be. Good luck to the All Blacks, the Māori All Blacks and our baby Blacks as they go well and represent us so well. We'll see you next week on Breakdown.
Bring it on.
As international rugby opponents go, France is the most unpredictable, the most likely to produce a performance that confounds previous form. The All Blacks have discovered this before. And it isn't. And the French have claimed a famous victory here in Carisbrooke. Savia gets it back on the inside. Dang!
Power, raw determination and power.